Hey, welcome to the channel. I'm Josh, and today I'm going to teach you how to hang sheetrock. Now, I know this video is probably going to get a little long, so I will leave timestamps down in the description, so if you're looking for a specific item, you can head down there and find exactly what you need. But first, let's talk about some tools. Alright, so if you're working for somebody, they should have all the scaffolding, ladders, power tools, that kind of stuff. So you shouldn't need any of that. But you will be responsible for your own hand tools. So, tape measure, pencil for sure, utility knife, that's what you're going to cut the drywall with. Need a rasp to clean up the edges, drywall, hole saw for cutting electrical boxes, that kind of stuff. Speed square is always handy, chalk line, and you might need a hammer. And then you're also going to want some tool bags. My tool bags leave a lot to be desired. They're pretty wore out, but hey, they still work. You're also going to want a drywall T-square. So I'll show you how that works in just a minute. And 4-foot level is always handy. Now, if you're doing a side job or trying to be, the contractor, there's a few other things you're going to need. You're going to need drywall screw gun. If it's a smaller room, you can get away with an impact, but anything bigger than a bedroom, I would probably get yourself a drywall screw gun. I really like having rolling scaffolding, but it's not necessary. You will need a ladder. If you don't have a ladder and you're just getting started, I would get a ladder like this. I think it's called the world's greatest ladder. I'll try to find a link for it down in the description, but it can fold out into an extension ladder, and then it also has multiple different heights. I think down to a 6-foot or 5-foot ladder, and then up to a 12-foot step ladder, which is super handy. So one ladder can do a bunch of different things. Also, they do have different hole saws and stuff that are the exact size of different lights and electrical boxes. I don't really use them. I just use my drywall saw, but it could be handy. The only thing is they are around 50 bucks or more per hole saw, so it can really add up. All right, so when you're hanging sheetrock, you want to start with the ceiling, and for two reasons. The most important being it'll give you a nice tight clean corner around the perimeter, because you'll have your ceiling rock and then you can jam your wall rock right up against it. And then the second thing is that a wall rock does kind of help support the edge of the ceiling sheetrock. So yeah, getting started here, I've got a line snapped at 48¼ inches off the wall. The drywall is 48 inches wide, and so that 1/4 inch just accounts for any unevenness that might be in the wall framing to make sure that we're good to go there. And then I measured for my length, and you basically just want to split the ceiling joists in the middle. So let's get cutting. I don't like to cut on the brown side or the back side of the drywall, but I also don't want to flip all these things around. So first measurement there is 137 3/4. So then basically what you're gonna do is just set your T-square right on your mark there. I like to put my foot on the bottom of the T-square so it doesn't move, and don't use a screwdriver. And you just grab your knife here. Score it. After it's scored, breaks pretty easy. Come on, you. You can just take your knife up the backside. Just like that. Alright, and then I take my rasp and just clean up that edge. It's nice and flat. Alright, I got a couple lights to lay out here. Sometimes you can use just like a rotozip, and you can use a tracer bit and basically trace the outside of the can. But I'm using what's called airtight can lights. And so they have like this gasket around the edge of the light hole. And so I don't want to run my tracer bit on there and screw up that gasket. I'm going to lay them out. Your lights, should come with a template that is the size of the hole that you need. The template has like a little center hole, so I just take a screw, stick it in my crosshairs here. Alright, so that's where this guy comes in, your drywall hole saw. Just kind of wiggle it in. Alright, that's where the fun starts. These sheets, when they're full, 105 pounds a piece, so make sure you ate your Wheaties. Man, I'm a little out of practice with the old drywall screw gun. But yeah, that's the process. You'll have to check your local codes, but for me, it's about every 8 inches on the ends and then 5 screws in the field. So it's like that. If you never use one of these, they're pretty dang cool. So basically, there's like a clutch in here. So when you pull the trigger, the tip doesn't spin unless there's pressure on it. So see how that pushes in? And so when that pushes in, as you put pressure on the wall or the ceiling, it engages the clutch here, and then that will spin. So you can actually lock the trigger on, and as fast as you can load screws on there, you can drive them in. And you can set the depth, how far the screw goes into the drywall, because you don't want to break the paper. You don't want to drive that screw all the way through the paper, because then you're losing strength, and that little nail hole will, or screw hole, will show up later on in the life of your house. So you don't want it to break the paper. You also don't want them to stick out. So you want it just the perfect depth, which I think I'm there. Alright, so when I'm measuring for lights, I set my tape right on the edge of the light fixture there, and just trying to find the center of it, and it should be where the tape just barely touches the edge, be the center of it. So we'll go with 43 1/8. It should be 12 inches off that line. So one of the things you got to be constantly aware of when you're doing, especially the ceiling, is as you go through your sheets and you got brown side, white side, brown side, white side, you got to think about what's going up. The brown side's always going up, and so now I got the white side out, so I know that this edge is going against my wall. My lights are on that end. This thing's going to flip up like this, so you just want to make sure that you're being cognizant about the orientation of your sheets, so you don't actually accidentally cut it backwards. first row is up. You start your second row. What you don't want to do, you don't want to stack all your butt joints in the same spot. So this next one I'm going to cut at 6 foot, and basically that's going to stagger our butt joints. That'll make just for a stronger room and less likely to crack at that seam, and it's just going to look better overall to spread those joints out. So yeah, cut the next one at 6 foot, and then we'll have a full 12 footer in the middle and another little 6 footer at the end. Well, had a little whoopsie there, and I can't even blame it on the inch trick because obviously it's a little more than an inch off. I don't know what happened, but it's the taper's problem now. Oh wait, I'm the taper. Dang it. That's all good. We'll just screw this in there and be good to go. All right, got my attic access hole I got to cut out there, and you can do this a couple different ways. You could use, your drywall saw. You could measure it out and cut it out beforehand, or you can use rotozip. I don't have a real rotozip. I've got this rigid multi-tool. It's got different heads on it. Basically, you want these little tracer bits, and you just follow it with your bit on the hole. I'll show you how that works. Alright, in this next piece, you got a notch around this column here, and I gotta bump the notch over to that ceiling joist there. That way this little patch has something to grab onto. So basically, I just pull my measurements and then use my T-square to draw my lines down for the notch, and I'm going to use my drywall saw and cut down to the line, and then I can use a knife to cut the horizontal.
Perfect.
Alright, got my ears lowered. Working on these closets here, and I want to show you a couple techniques. When you're doing a rip that's the same distance all the way across, or same width all the way across, I'm going to show you how you can cut that without snapping a line. So I like to just make my mark here, and then you can hold pinch your tape with one hand, and then put your blade right at the end of your tape measure. Put it right on the mark you just made, and then grab like that. Then you just give it a little wiggle. You have to smack it. Then what you're gonna do is you take your rasp and you rasp it before you cut the other side. So that really straightens out your cut. And then just kind of put your knee into it and snap it off. That technique works best with 5/8 rock. You can do it with 1/2 inch, but I've also broken the sheet by trying to do that, so use at your own risk. But the 5/8, it works really well. Alright, so if you find yourself in a situation where you can't use a lift, or you can't afford a lift, or whatever the case may be, you can build yourself a little T-post here, and I'll show you that in just a second, to help you hold it in place. Now this piece isn't that heavy because it's only 1/2 a sheet. Oh, come on, baby. Tight right there. And then it just holds your board in place while you screw it. Pretty easy. Yeah, so I just used some scrap that I had laying around, but if you're doing a job, just grab yourself a 12-foot 2x4 and then cut it to the length you need. I went like about 1/8 or 1/4 tight, and used the cutoff to make your T, and it should work for a 12-footer. Will work for 9-foot or 8-foot ceilings. You just make a little T-post. Not gonna lie, it is tough with a full sheet. You got to try to pack that thing up a ladder and then have that T-post ready to, prop into place. It's a little tricky, but it can be done. Alright, so here's another technique you can use. Sometimes you have the opportunity to just run a board long, and then you don't even have to measure for the length. After you get it screwed on there, just use your knife on the back side, score it, snap it off. Sweet. Alright, moving right along here. It's looking pretty dang good. Got a bunch of the wall board up. So just have this one wall left here for the big sheets. So I wanted to show you how I do this by myself. It's quite the chore doing this by yourself, but totally possible. People do it all the time. Alright, so this piece is gonna go up in this corner here. And so basically what you're gonna do is you take your drill and you pinch it between your legs, and you're going to load one screw onto the drill, and then you're going to put like 2 or 3 screws in your mouth. Because you don't have an arm growing out of your chest. If I could have one superpower, it'd be to grow an arm out of my chest. I know my t-shirts would look weird, but it would be super handy. Then what you're gonna do is squat down, pick the piece up, push it all the way up tight against the drywall, and you're gonna use your non-dominant hand to press as much pressure as you can against the board, and that's gonna hold it from sliding down the wall. And then you're gonna take your drill and stab a screw in. Then you're gonna load a screw onto the drywall gun and get about 3 screws in it, and that should hold it on a 12-foot sheet. I kind of set it on my foot so I can get my hand under there. Didn't put any screws in my mouth, dang it. That's how it's done. So now I'm going to go ahead and screw it off, and then we'll cut out our openings for the closet doors in that little hallway. Alright, for these door openings, you could use a rotor zip, but it does get pretty dusty. It's pretty fast to cut this ultralight 1/2-inch rock with just a drywall saw. So you can just trace your 2x4, trace the framing with your drywall saw up to the header, and then use your knife to score it. It's pretty easy. we got an electrical box right here. So I'm going to use my roto zip. Cut it out. It is about 3 inches up. Basically what you're going to do is stab your bit in through the drywall about the center of the box or so, and then go and find the edge of the box, pull the bit out, stab it back in so you're on the outside of the box, and then trace it. Hopefully I don't screw this up. A little wonky there, but that's alright. Those wide covers are for. Alright, it's looking pretty good around here. So, got a few pieces at the end of the closets to do, and some kind of strips here to back up the trim, but pretty much done. So yeah, that's my process. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments below. I do have one more point to talk about, and that is recovery. And so this is something that nobody really talked to me about when I was first getting into this. And when this stuff is hard work, the sheetrock, lifting all these heavy boards up, and the drilling and all that, it's hard work. And so you want to make sure that you are recovering well. And so make sure you're eating plenty of protein. Make sure that you're stretching, and maybe getting a massage. When I was doing this full time, I got a massage every week, and it really helped with like forearm tendonitis and that kind of stuff. So make sure you're taking care of yourself that way. Recovery is not sitting on the couch drinking beer. Recovery is stretching, eating well. If you put good stuff in, you'll get good recovery out. Put garbage in, you're gonna feel like garbage. So just keep that in mind. I got a free 3-step guide down in the description for you guys to download if you're trying to get your first construction job. So be sure to check that out. And yeah, if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you next time.